in the mask, yeah.
Okay. Hey, I said, your only friend is God. That's something that my mama told me. She was not a liar. She was fire sonically on my whole world like Geo. Graffiti. It's like I'm not about to read out. I was really writing the other day. But wait, let me read it. Anyway, everything's fine. Anyway, on a lighter note, since I'm in this bitch, give anime and shit. Gotta be like, it's like, that's really my lashes. These are mine. Praise God. I just feel like doing a fun facts video from when I was a child, a wee bitty baby. It's like, no, I wasn't a baby, but all of this is prior to being 18 years old. So I just thought this would be fun to share. Why not, right? Because I was just thinking about healing my inner child and, you know, healing in general. And, you know, I'm not a child. So I just felt like running down some of these interesting little facts about moi. Or things that maybe happen, or like just stuff that I feel like sharing. Why not? Why not? Why not? Why not? So, before I continue, I'm gonna cap this pen so it doesn't dry out. I need that. Wait. If you put your pen in a journal like this, we're not friends. Like, you need to have this part sticking out. And then make sure it's really stuck on there. Like, this is the best pen. Don't add me. I don't care about the fancy shit. This is a pen that will get you through. You little regular big pens, bitch. It's like, I'll make sure it's secured. And then, I'm just talking. Anyway, these are fun facts. This is supposed to be a simple little fun facts video. I thought this would be fun to share because I've been on my little healing journey. You know, that's what people say after a toxic relationship or fling. And they start listening to frequencies and shit, and they start looking up anything. But you know what I did? I went within and I said, what's going on downstairs in your soul's basement? And I went like, let's just figure it out. Let's just talk about it. So, oh, the fuck? I just felt like everything just kind of shit down and shit. Anyway, I'm gonna share some events or fun facts from when I was like under 18. And I promise they're PG-13 AF. Like, nothing is crazy or awkward or wild or no. So I'm gonna try to share them in chronological order, but you know, I might just honestly run down the list, but I'm gonna just try to read before I talk. So I'm gonna try to go back as early as possible with the first ones. So, you know, I'm gonna share a general fact that I used to have as a child. And I promise I outgrew this fear. Right. So when I was a child, I was deathly afraid of public bathrooms. Like, that shit used to give Dreamcore, like, if you ever seen like some type of posts where like the walls and the ground and the dimensions of things were just not making logical sense. That's how I felt at my wee age, of whatever age I was, when I first discovered this fear and solidified this fear. You know, whenever I would enter a public restroom, or even just like elementary school restrooms, like I had this one elementary school restroom that I used to go to in my elementary school, and it was like a bathroom in the fucking far corner of the back of the school. I actually used to have a lot of dreams about the trail behind my elementary school, and just like, I don't know how to describe it. Anyway, it was such a tiny little bathroom, and it was just so fucking creepy. Like, I wish I could to this day just enter the school, maybe off school hours, right, just to see it again, so I could see how fucking creepy it was, because it was just such a small room in the back of the school, and I just was like, it just used to creep me out. It had like a bathroom and it had a toilet and a sink, and it wasn't like filthy, but it was just creepy. Like, it was just like the light was half working, and then the door was so fucking heavy for me. Right now I'm like 5 feet and like around, I'm a little small framed. So imagine when I was a fucking jit. I was definitely probably giving 3.5, 3.8 and shit. So now let this dry out. No, not you. Not you. You deserve recognition. I know. Anyway, yeah, I used to be so deathly afraid. I got so distracted. Deathly afraid of public restrooms. I'm talking about whether it was a room, a singular room, or a public restroom with like the stalls and shiz. Child. It was just the way my vision was so low to the ground, and the stalls were so much taller than me, and it felt like the gap underneath the bottom of the stall door was just as tall as me. Basically, it felt like that. So it felt like everything was just so intimidating and creepy. And like, if I would enter a public restroom and the light was off before you go into the bathroom with the motion sensor lights, it was terrifying for me to step into the bathrooms that were dark and creaky, and you hear the leaking in the background, and then everything's just silent, and like, there's maybe a mirror, bitch, maybe, and if it don't got a mirror, it's creepier. But or if the mirrors are positioned on the sinks like off and shit, or just kind of just low down instead of like just a big singular mirror with the sinks lined up and shit. I used to just overthink the shit out of public restrooms. And bitch, I always use like the third or fourth stall because of like OCD. I just didn't tell myself use the first one. So like, that's just and then dude, whenever it was time to use the restroom, it was taking everything in me to just hurry the F up and get in there and get out, because I just felt like when the doors would close on a public restroom, it felt like a slam. Like, it felt like, oh, I'm about to die, or somebody's about to come in here, or something. And by the time I was finished and it was time to flush the toilet in the silence of the public restroom, and I was just so tiny, and my ears were so sensitive, and I used to like really absorb and take in sound. Cause this one is just, I'm just dragging it. That's how fucking terrified I was of these fucking public restrooms. Anyway, when it was time to flush the toilet, I used to be like not ready, cause it just would feel like my brain about to explode. Like it was so, especially if it was like a fast flush or something, it was just like loud. But yeah, anyway, make my skin crawl in my body, just like jerk, and it just was like that. I don't know why. Maybe because I was just really what is it? Maybe I was just not tapped into like, what is that called? Like my sixth sense. So maybe, what do I call it? Like I was probably just very audibly tapped in. It just was probably overwhelming. I'll just say that. That used to be a horrible thing I had to get over by the time I was like 10 or 11 or a little bit older than that. And the next one is that I used to think that, I don't know what style you call these doors. Okay, so I used to think that, I'm gonna put an example on the screen. I used to think that 4-panel doors was giving chocolate, like was giving Hershey's or something. Like, what's a perforated chocolate? Yeah, Hershey's. I used to just think those always looked like chocolate to me. I mean, I feel like that's probably a common one, but I just, whenever I would see a fucking door, I would be like, chocolate and shit. Like, what are they selling? But type shit. So that's just an innocent one, you know what I'm saying? I'm gonna keep it short because I'm already dragging this video. Yeah, that was just me comparing shit to shit. I used to, the next one is that I used to call New York Unork, and I used to call lip gloss Glip gloss. So I feel like in one of my last videos, I mentioned like how I had like a little lisp, or I just had trouble with oral communication growing up, just because like, one, I was shy, and two, I feel like it was probably just some other shit that I'm not gonna get into, but I had to learn to practice enunciating and shit like that. So I used to just say Unork and Glip gloss instead of New York and lip gloss, or like, there's other words and shit, but I feel like my brain just was moving backwards in that time in my life. But you know, I grew up to be able to read, and I was an honor roll student like pretty much all my life. I think when I was like in high school, I missed honor roll probably like literally 4 times total or some shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, I literally had honor roll every year, at least 2 or 3 quarters of the year out of the 4, from like elementary and or middle school to high school. Like, I literally was like an honor roll geek. Like, I was obsessed with just making sure I got a 3.0 at the minimum. But I think when I graduated, I was falling off, and I was like realizing that I you know what I'm saying, it was hard to keep up with the pace that everybody else was like. Well, I put a lot of pressure on myself, but it was hard for me to keep up with the pace that I gave myself to keep up with. And I had to eventually start going home and self-teaching instead of like retaining information from school, because the pace was starting to get just too unattainable for my brain. So, you know what I'm saying? Classes started getting shorter, and a lot of classes started getting squeezed in the day at one time. So anyway, I feel like I used to kind of feel a little dyslexic, but I didn't like make it like a disability, like, you know what I'm saying? I didn't like make it a thing. One time, okay. One time, okay, so I have like an Audi belly button. And I know, first of all, as an adult, I would never harm myself or try to harm anyone else physically or do anything along the lines of SH, like self-harm. I don't know if I could say that word, but I would never harm myself or somebody else. Like, that's just in my right mind. Well, in my right mind, I would never harm myself bodily or anyone else bodily, and or just end anything. And I forbid and pray to God that that just never happens to anyone I love or me or anyone. Just period. Amen. So yeah, when I was like younger, I don't even know what age I was. I was probably like between the ages of like 10 and like, no, probably like in between the ages of 8 and 12. I had an Audi belly button and I thought something was wrong with me. And I realized after this event, but as I got older, it's okay. People don't give a fuck. Like, it's just an Audi belly button. And then I would see other people with Audi belly buttons. So there we go. It's not that deep. And I actually really love my belly button. Like, I would not pierce right there. Only because not because of the Audi, because I feel like that piercing was a little scary because the skin is a little thick right there. Now, I would pierce my ears, like the whole thing if I could today. Like today. But that I don't know why. When it starts feeling like they could pierce something other than just skin and not my ears. No. And I used to want a bridge piercing so bad, but I'm scared. And also, I don't think I should ever get face piercings. You know what I'm saying? I just feel like that's just not for me. Unless it's like a nose piercing. But one time when I was like between the ages of 8 and 12, I had a pair of scissors in my hand. And I was just looking at my belly button and I was circling around it. I was just looking at it and I was like, what if I just, and I was like, I literally remember my consciousness like jumped in and was like, you're crazy, like don't do that. But I know a lot of kids do crazy shit and they probably regret a lot of things they probably did as a kid. Who doesn't, right? So I literally was sitting there for like 30 minutes, like looking at it, and like literally I was like compulsively circling around it and looking at it, because I was never insecure about it, but I just was curious, like, what if it looked like everybody else's belly button and you're the weirdo? And bitch, I just like my higher self, probably my future self, or just God, bitch. God was just like, sit down, put the scissors down, put the scissors down. And I just like dropped the scissors and was like, I'm never gonna do that. Like, duh. Like, I feel like I knew blood exists, blood and pain. The so yeah, no, I didn't do that. You know what I'm saying? I attempted to do some dumbass shit like that in my brain, but then I was like, hell no. I do remember just the length of time I was sitting there contemplating, and it was kind of wild. Like I said, never would I do anything like that or anything along the lines. All right. Especially being older now. Like as a teenager, it's a different story, but or maybe like a young adult, but another innocent one is that I used to have an unhealthy obsession with Dora the Explorer. Gee, there was a point where my whole room, and I was a little bit older for the Dora age group, in my opinion, in my family's opinion, but they just let me ride it out till it was really done. Like, I swear to God, I was obsessed with Dora from like age probably 3 to like age 12, like 11 or some shit that is just giving like, all right, time to wrap it up. I had Dora bed sheets. I had Dora toys. I had a Dora laundry hamper that was like a basketball hoop and it hung from your door. I played with that nonstop. I had a Dora television, like the literal 2000s Dora television with the VCR attached or some shit. The fucking remote stopped working and then the button was like fucked up in the power thing. So like I still held on to that, and then it was like a fat back TV and shit. I literally had a Dora talking dollhouse. There were 2 Dora talking kitchens in my house. What else? I had Dora stuffed animals that were life-sized for a child. I had Dora backpack. I had Dora everything. Like the only thing I probably didn't have was like Dora themed school supply. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, anyway. I just was obsessed with Dora like so much, and not like unhelpfully. I think I just liked the stars, like the colors, and like the fact that she was just like brown. Like, because when I was a baby or a kid, you look at the TV and you see like characters and people on TV, and so my brain probably just quickly attached to like, oh, she's brown and I'm brown. So maybe I just thought, oh, friendly and similar. So yeah. Dora Explorer. Okay, so when I was like 10 years old, my first roller coaster I ever rode, man, I'm so glad nothing happened to me. But the first roller coaster I ever rode in my life at 10 years old, and I was probably like 60 pounds and like just reaching the height requirement. I rode, if you know anything about Six Flags America, okay, you know that there's the regular roller coasters and then there's like a fucking swing ride, like a little chill, mellow 30-mile-per-hour swing ride that's feasible for a child that size. And my thrill-seeking ASS, I jumped my first roller coaster in my life, bitch, was the Superman. That shit is like 200 feet tall and goes like almost 80 plus miles per hour, I think, or like 70 something. Like, the way I had to accustom to the G-force and the speed, and I wasn't ready, bro. I wasn't ready for, like, I didn't know what roller coasters did, and I thought, since I was like kind of like as a kid growing up, I wasn't like immensely impoverished, but I wasn't rich. Like, I didn't have much but like what I could get, and I had a great childhood and toys and people blessing me in my life. Like, I had people in my life that always made sure I had a good Christmas and shit and good life. Like, I always ate and stuff like that. Like, I had a bed and I was fine and shit, but I just figured, oh, Six Flags is expensive, G. Like, we're not gonna be able to come back. So I got the chance to go at 10 years old, playing instruments in elementary school, because that was the only way you could really go, and I think you still had to pay. As a field trip, I went to Six Flags and I rode the Superman with my school music teacher. Like, he was sitting next to me. So I didn't ride with a classmate. I rode with a grown ass man. Crazy. The Superman, he said, "Are you sure you want to ride on the Superman?" I'm like, no, but I'm so dead. It's like, And I just didn't know. So when I got on this fucking ride, at 10 years old, I was like 60 pounds. Ninja. When the drop was approaching, first of all, before the drop approached, the way I regretted my decision, immediately, just when they clicked the seatbelt, when it was going up and it kept going up and it kept going up, I was like, oh my dumb ass. So I just thought, okay, it's gonna be over soon. So at the top of the drop, I said, all right, I didn't even take a deep breath. I literally didn't know that drop feeling existed until that ride. So I literally overwhelmed my fucking body, and it only has a lap bar. It doesn't have like a over the shoulder thing where you don't feel so worried about your life. So I was 10 years old and the fucking ride drops, and I felt like I was about to slip out because I just wasn't holding on. I wasn't thinking about the G-force of a roller coaster or anything. So first of all, I couldn't breathe. And I know my face on the roller coaster was probably giving. And I didn't look at the pictures. I didn't know about none of that stuff. And I literally felt like I was about to slip out. And I didn't buckle the little seatbelt strap underneath the lap bar. So I just didn't know shit. So the way I felt like I was about to die, but I was like, oh, it's too late now. Like, it was such a long drop for me. So that was my first roller coaster, and by the time we got to the middle and end of the ride, it was fun, but I was trying to catch up to what the fuck just happened. Like, I figured if I can do that, I can do anything. Like, after that, I got on everything else, but that was like intense. Like, it was like, why the hell did I do that? Well, at least I did it. So that was my first roller coaster, and it was so goofy. I just was addicted to Six Flags after that. Like, I couldn't think about nothing else but the drop feeling. Mind you, I went back to Six Flags a couple of times after that. And as a 24-year-old, I went by myself. Because I'm just like, I'm pressed to do the shit alone. So, bitch. I used to love that feeling, like the drop feeling. I hate the drop towers. I went to Six Flags as a 24-year-old. I didn't get on the Superman. What the hell? I went on everything but the Superman. And the only reason I got on the drop tower was because I just wanted to see if I could get on the Superman. Like, when I was 12 years old, I went to Six Flags a couple of times. I was like, addicted to Six Flags. Like, I wanted to go because I had a summer pass, and I was like, oh, we need to keep going because I think I must have knew that I just was probably just gonna be a pussy in the future. And I am, because I went as a 24-year-old, and the drop tower pissed me off. Like, I just was like, how the hell did I used to do this? Like, I got on everything else. Like, some of the rides were cool. My favorite, and honestly the only roller coaster I liked was it used to be called the Apocalypse, but it's called the Firebird now, apparently. So that's the only one that I enjoy. Like, it's not just, it has a loop, but it's not too tall, and it's not too fast, and it's not too like crazy. Like, you know what I'm saying? I literally didn't get on the Superman anyway. And I don't think I'm gonna get on it anytime soon. I just think now I think too much. Because when I was a kid, I really was like, thrill, 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 and bitch, what do you mean? So anyway, when I was 12 years old, I went to space camp. That's another fun fact. And I'm such a geek. Like, it was free, and I came back to my mom with the paper and said, please sign it. And And she was like, what the fuck are y'all about to do at space camp? And I said, nothing but learn about the planets. And I think we was gonna go swimming and I think we were gonna go swimming in like an indoor pool, and I don't even remember really everything now. That's kind of sad. And then we kind of like built rockets or some shit, and then we got to launch them in the air, so that part was cool. And then it was just like some other star-based shit, so it was free. And she said, I would feel like such an a-hole if I just don't let her go, even though she was mad paranoid about my whereabouts all the time. She just was like, you know what, I'm gonna let her have this experience. So I just went to space camp when I was 12, and I was pressed. And then my mom had did my hair in like braids, like some shit like this, basically something neat in general. And my press ASS, my silly self, I went, and mind you, 12-year-olds don't know how to do the hair, especially back then. It was 2012. Like, we didn't have the natural hair movement where bitches was learning how to do their hair and like the lock method and the fucking how to comb your hair and keep it untangled and kept and shit. So my black hair, and it was just about as long as this, but on a small body, so it was giving long AF. It was giving long AF and then thick and hair. So I had some style in my hair that was neat. And I went to the indoor pool portion of this space camp trip. And so by the time it was time to get in the pool, I said, let me be a fucking mermaid. Let me be a fucking mermaid and untwist the braids that I had in my fucking hair. Trying to show off my hair and like just get into the 5-foot section of the pool, because I was definitely not touching anything over 5 feet, so I could at least survive. But I was just trying to see my hair in the pool, and it was cool. It was cool when it was in the water. It was cool. It was great. It was cute. It was fun. And then when I got out, I didn't know what to do with my hair. It was giving. Here, I'll just put the meme. I'll just put the meme on the screen. You know what I'm saying? It was I didn't understand pools and chlorine and the effects on natural hair, and then I didn't know how to do my hair for shit. So I just got out the pool, and I was thinking it was gonna stay like that forever. And then by the time it was the evening or the end of the night, I'm sitting here looking like Shirley Temple, but black and shit. And it went from down here, all down here and shit, to up to my ears, like fucking Dora, but curly. So I did attempt to rebraid my hair into something. It was a mess. I don't even want to show you what it was like. It was so funny and goofy. By the time my mom came back to pick me up, or it was somebody, they just looked at my hair and said, I already know what you did, bro. You're just making my life harder. Like, it was like, I'm happy to see you, but the first thing they said was, why the fuck did you do that to your hair? So, yeah. I went to space camp. Oh yeah, before I move on to more 12-year-old things, I used to only eat McDonald's like once or twice a year. Like, I know there was a lot of kids whose parents just had money and would just take them to McDonald's every week or every weekend, or it was just life. And my mama, she cooked most of what I ate, and or we just bought freezer foods and like regular shit, like fucking pizza rolls and fucking, if it wasn't cooking, it was just some regular shit, to be honest. I'm not gonna lie. So it wasn't normalized to go to fucking McDonald's. Like, not that I'm against McDonald's or anything, because by the time I got a job and could work and had my own money, I would go to McDonald's sometimes or order Uber Eats and shit, just being a kid or just young. So my dad wasn't really in my life, like, all the time. Like, he would show up every year or so. Or, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, just, it wasn't, like, hell. But that's the only time I would go to McDonald's, is when I would see my dad. That was it. And then maybe once in a blue moon, my mom would take us to Popeyes or some shit. But I didn't really eat a lot of fast food, clearly, but I just remember that was like a prize to me. Fucking McDonald's. That's another one. I used to play Animal Crossing. I was probably like 11 years old. I was like 10 years old when I got my first DS. Wait. Like genuinely going to the store to pick it out on my birthday. And it was a blue DSi. I think I was 10 or 11. And then I bought Animal Crossing Wild World, the little cartridge that go with it. That's the only game I wanted to play, bro. I played Mario Kart and Super Mario Bros. And Pokemon Platinum. That was the only couple games I was obsessed with. But I'm telling you, Animal Crossing took the fucking cake. Like, I used to wake up and from sunup to sundown, if it was a weekend or the summer break, my life, I would sometimes not eat all day playing Animal fucking Crossing. Like, I was obsessed. I don't know why. I don't know why. And it never stopped until like really like 2020. I had Animal Crossing Wild World for the longest, and I remember when New Leaf came out and I didn't have any money or any 3DS or anything, so I had to wait till I was 19 to be able to buy my own 3DS, and then New Leaf, and then fucking New Horizons came out in like 20 something. I don't even know what year it was. And then somebody had bought me a Switch Lite, and then I bought the game, I think, on the eShop. So I played that. I was obsessed with that. I'm not gonna lie. I was like definitely playing the shit out of that shit. But I'm telling you, it was not touching the way I used to be obsessed with Wild World. Anyway, like I'm telling you, like sun up to sundown, I used to play Animal Crossing. Like, anyway, one time, the next one is that one time I was like probably like around 10 years old. I was probably around 10 years old, and this was kind of a little scary, I'm not gonna lie. I think I'm probably still affected by this to this day, but oh well, I'm alive. So I was probably around 10 years old. And I was on the swings at the playground in my apartment complex. And then I was just swinging, I was just wilding out. I was trying to be like doing some tricks. Like, I was trying to be like the dudes or like the cool kids. Like, they used to jump off the swings and land on their feet like cats. And I used to be like, I could do that. I think I actually have a scar on my arm somewhere. Wait, let me see. Which arm is it? Hold on, I can't see. It used to be darker. I can't even tell. That's not my armpit, right? So this is my one armpit. There's nothing going on. And then this is a scar. I don't know. it just, I remember that day. It just, the way I fell was just horrible. So anyway, I was swinging, and then I tried to, oh my God. I tried to jump off and be cool. And I fell straight on my back. Like, it wasn't like funny. It was actually scary. And it was like thank God, a couple of people at the playground at the time. I think really my family wasn't really around, like the guardians, so they just trusted that I could go to the fucking playground and not hurt myself, right? And I didn't really tell anybody about this either. Just probably not all that good. But I was like literally around 10 years old, maybe 9, maybe 11, I don't know. And I fell straight on my back, like literally just like back first. Oh God, it's so real, because for like literally 8 to 10 minutes, I swear to God, like I knew it was definitely more than 5 minutes. I couldn't talk or I couldn't move the entire time. I actually literally just remember this from the other day, because I was at the playground with somebody in a whole different city and shit. You know what I'm saying? But I'm saying it was a new playground that was built, but it just reminded me of like that day somehow. So I remember I fell straight on my back and I couldn't talk, and it felt hard to breathe. Like I literally felt like I couldn't breathe. Like, I felt like my ribs were probably in my lungs or something, or it was something. And I literally couldn't move. I literally couldn't move for like the 8 to 10 minutes. And people came over and were like, they were sitting over my head. They're like, are you okay? Are you okay? Like, they were like, oh, that fall was bad. And after like a while, it felt like I was like seeing like black flashes and shit. Oh, I'm about to cry. Anyway, I was seeing like black flashes, and then I don't even know. I just remember like kind of being able to get up eventually. And people were just like, I don't even remember. People were sitting over me and like making sure I was okay. And then I just remember, I actually don't remember what happened after that. But from my recollection, I feel like I was able to stand up again, and I shook my legs out, and I didn't want to play anymore. It was fun. Man. No, that was really one of the scariest moments of my life. Actually, when I talk about it, it's like making me think. Anyway, the next one is when I was 12 years old. I met B. Smith. So I feel like she passed away in 2020. But B. Smith was just like, she was like a restaurateur. I don't know how to pronounce it. So she like owned restaurants and stuff, or she just was like a culinary based person. And she was like a model and like whatever else. I don't know. She was just like a person, she was somebody. And I think a fun fact about her is that she was like one of the first African American women on Mademoiselle magazine in like 1976. And she came to my school, my middle school, because I'm gonna put a picture of me meeting her. She came to my school because they had like a culinary program to just kind of like make kids more versed in like culinary skills. And then like I had a home ec class that taught you about how to have your handles positioned on the stove, so like you don't get your shirt caught on it and knock anything over, or like just teaching you about kitchen etiquette and shit, and just teaching you about shit. And then I just was in that program for a little while, probably a semester or something. And then eventually we got to meet her and then go to her restaurant in DC before it was like taken down or whatever. So I literally met her, and then we had like that experience, and it was cool. Like we got a free meal and shit, and then we had to dress up to go to the restaurant. So So that was fun. And I just met her. I remember she was so nice, and it was cool because I didn't know who she was, but apparently she was famous. So it was cool. This next one is just silly. By the way, don't do this. Okay, don't do this. Okay, like I'm not excusing what I'm about to talk about at any age. Okay, but I guess I got away with it because I was so young and I looked real young, and from what I'm about to talk about, it was probably, I wouldn't say permitted, but it was just like forgiven. You know what I'm saying? Because it was just like understandable. So I was probably like 13 years old at the time. And when I was younger, like I said, I couldn't really afford much that I wanted. Like, you know, like I had a household that was like, it was a little brokey broke, but my family didn't make it feel like that. Like they made sure they had what they wanted. You know what I'm saying? Like we had what we needed for sure. And then I was so sensitive about my like growing up in middle school. You know, kids are like trying to be grown. Like there were kids that used to wear MAC lipstick, and and they had Jordans, like the shoes, and they would have like these uniforms. I had a uniform, but you know, some kids were just cool with their shit, like, and then the other kids was giving nerd, like it was giving your parents are buying like this Shoppers World khakis and like stiff ass uniform shirts, and then the cool kids had like fitted clothes and they was styling on niggas and shit, and I was just like, and they would wear their hair like all grown, like. So as a developing teenager, I just was like, I wish I was cool, but I was a nerd like shit. So I had this one pair of pants though. It was cargo khakis, and I literally was slicing those. Like I wore them every day because it was just like those were cute. And then one day a girl asked me, "Where'd you get those pants from?" And I said, "Shoppers World." She went and bought the pants. I said, "Okay, well I'm not like a weird bitch. I'm not gonna gatekeep." So I felt cool after that. And I think she was popular, so I was like, Shoppers World, please like me. It's like, nah. And she just ripped my shit, and she didn't even talk to me after that. I said, anyway, so you know what I'm saying? Like, kids just want to fit in and be cool. And then people had cool ass school supplies, and some people parents had money and shit. Like they buying them these expensive ass Mead notebooks and shit, and fucking mechanical pencils. I could barely afford Ticonderoga. Like, what do you mean? And I had to have these dusty ass pencils that had hard ass erasers. If you make a mistake, you gonna wish you didn't, because if trying to erase that shit, it's just gonna feel like fucking tire rubber on your paper. It's just making more of a mess than the mistake itself. So anyway, I'm basically saying I just had black and white composition notebooks and bland ass school supplies growing up. And oh well, like I just went to school anyway. But this one year in particular, please don't do this if you're like, if at all thinking about anything like this. If you're at for whatever reason under 18 or whatever, or over 18, but you know, people be trying to be slick. Anyway, I went to Big Lots. It was in my mall, my local mall, and I was like 13 years old. I had went into Big Lots one year, and I had this little skinny ass tote bag, and it was mad empty. So the way you get into the store is like through the doors. Like it didn't have a door. It was just like, you know what I'm saying, the barcode reading scanners at the door or at the arch, and you walk through, and then the checkout lanes are basically literally perpendicular. So it's like the cashiers can see you come in and see you come out, basically. Bitch, my 13-year-old ass, I went into Big Lots with this empty ass, clearly empty ass tote bag. It's not a book bag, it was a tote bag. And I was just, first of all, my mom really probably couldn't afford school supplies this year, for one. And I knew that, which is why I even felt the need to do this. Or I felt the need. Doesn't mean I needed to do it, but she really couldn't afford the school supplies, and she was smoking some cigarettes, so she just could afford that though. Anyway, and then sometimes I would have to get the free school supplies that the school may or may not have provided that year prior to the school year starting. I just didn't want to go through that. Like, it was just so annoying. My 13-year-old ass, I went to Big Lots with this empty tote bag, and I walked past the cashiers, and I go into the school supply aisle. I bawled out. Like, I filled my little tote bag with as much as would fit in that hole. Like, I'm telling you, like, it's so, like, don't do that. Don't do that, because you may be a kid and feel like, oh, I can't get in trouble. And no, people are not trying to have you in trouble for that, but it's like, don't do that, because like, that's bad. And it wasn't like, it was a lot. I was being bad, but I went and got the binders. Like, I got like two or three binders. I got like notebooks. I got like pencils. I got like folders. I literally just went into the aisles and was being just slick. And the store was like kind of empty at the time. It was kind of empty. It wasn't like a packed store all the time. I think the store was about to like be bankrupt. So it just gave that vibe, but you know, everything was like a markdown type pricing. I think, you know what I'm saying? I just was trying to see what I could get away with. So I did that, and I filled up the bag, and then I was thinking about, okay, so now my bag is fat as fuck, like on my shoulder. And shit is literally sticking out the top, like ever so slightly. And it's just giving like, you didn't come in looking like that, sweetie. So I was hoping to maybe try to walk past the cashiers, like if they were maybe turned around, or like trying to put receipt paper in their thing, or like maybe one of the workers would try to get the manager for something, and then, oh Lord, bruh. So eventually I had to leave, right? I can't just stand there all day because school's starting, bitch. I need to go to school. So it was a hot ass summer day, because you know it was before school started. I'm hot as shit. My little tween armpits is sweating and shit. Don't know what deodorant is yet. And so, let me stop. I'm trying to like act natural, like, and walk past. Also, my dumbass, like, I didn't even attempt to put the bag on the side that the cashiers just aren't directly facing. So I just literally walked in with the empty bag in their view, and then I was walking out with the same bag that I walked in with, this shit empty. It was full as fuck and bussing, like it was about to break. And like the bag was like not sitting flat. It was like I had to literally have my shoulder like on top of it. So like I'm walking out with this fat ass bag full of clearly school supplies. And I think one of the cashiers definitely saw me. They just didn't say anything, or like, you know what I'm saying? It was so bad. Like, don't do that. Now shit is different, by the way. They crack down. They have security at the doors of all these stores. So I already know. Like, I already know. it wasn't like that back then. This is 2012, 2013. You know what I'm saying? So I walk past the cashier that's clearly sitting at it, and they literally watched me walk out. And I walk past, like, trying to act like I don't see them. Everything's fine. Everything's fine. And the bag is literally on the side that the cashiers can see, and I just walk the fuck out. Like, duh. Like, what are you gonna say? Bye. Like, thanks and shit. Like, no, you're just gonna walk. And so I did, and by the time I got home, I surprised my sibling, one of my siblings, with this trip that I made. And I didn't just think about myself, all right? I think that's the only reason God allowed that shit to pass. I didn't only think about myself, so I went and did the big thing. So I come back with our supplies for the freaking school year, and I made sure to get home and everything, and then basically my mom eventually was like, you know, she's either working or home. So she's home this one particular evening, and I have everything sprawled out in the bedroom. Like, I'm looking at all the colorful little jelly mechanical pencils and all the journals and notebooks that I wanted. And then I'm just like, this is for you, this is for me, this is for you, this is for me. And my mom was trying to come in the room just to be a mom. Like, she used to just very much often come into the bedroom to say something or do something, like, and before she came to the room, because she used to have a smoker's cough, so she would cough before she did anything. Like, she would have this alarm that would go off. She would cough in the living room, and then she would cough by the kitchen, and then by the time she's going down the hallway, you know she's coming. Like, or she would drag her feet on the carpet. So I must have heard that, and then she probably said my name or something, or me and my sibling's name. She was coming towards the door, and I literally was just like, with all this shit sprawled out, I was so terrified, because she wasn't going for none of that. Like, I think she knew, first of all, after this event, she started telling me, like, you know, get to that point. I mean, here, I'm gonna get to that part. So she comes and opens the door, and before she opens the door, I grabbed everything, like, in a swipe, like all the pencils that I had, like, lined out, dividing it and shit, like it's drugs. And then everything, I stacked it real fast and I just put it behind me and shit. And she's not stupid, so she didn't expect to see anything, duh, but she's probably like looking around the room of her children, and then she probably saw it. But I was trying to hide the shit, because she would definitely have known that you didn't get this from me. Like, she can't afford that shit. And given its big lots, like, it wasn't the most expensive thing. It was definitely marked down discount items, but I was just worried about the luck. Mind you, that shit do not matter. Like, it's not worth the trouble if you do anything like that. I think back now, I'm so grown now, I'm like, just use the school supplies that you get. But you know, kids, they care. So definitely after that, she's the type of person that wouldn't say something about it, because she doesn't want to like make it feel like too much pressure. Because, you know, if you tell kids not to do something, they want to do it more. So she just probably saw it and was like, oh my God, I have to start saying something. So eventually, when I would start leaving the house, she would say, don't go to the store and picking up things you can't afford, or like just things that you know you don't need and stuff like that. So yeah, by the time I was old enough, I knew not to do that. Like, definitely at an adult age, I knew not to really go in stores picking up shit that's an amount of money that's like crazy. So yeah, that was a silly time. But it was so innocent. It was just like, oh, like I feel like the cashier just, it was probably so freaking comedic to just see me tell myself from her perspective that I came in like this. And she just was like, just literally just like. And the last one is that I had my first little kissy kiss at 17. I thought I was 18, but I was 17. It was like right before my 18th birthday, so yeah, and the same person. Like I said, it was right before my birthday, so it was around Valentine's Day. It was after Valentine's Day because that same person, and mind you, this is the fun fact part, they weren't my boyfriend at any point in life. They were just like somebody that liked me. So that person at 17 years old had gotten me flowers for Valentine's Day. Like, and it was like in the classroom, like I was in school, like on the day of Valentine's Day, and they walked into the classroom and they had flowers. Let me put a picture. I don't have a picture of it in school, but I took a picture of it when I went home. And they had flowers, and they walked in the classroom like that, and they gave me flowers in front of ninjas. Like, I was like, and that the fun fact is that that was the first and only time I ever got flowers on Valentine's Day. Out of all the boyfriends I done had, out of all the people I done had FCX with or dated, that was the only person that ever got me flowers on Valentine's Day ever. And it was like so cute. And I was like, oh. So that was at least the person that was my first kiss. So yeah, that's sweet. Actually, literally every Valentine's Day after that, even if I had a boyfriend, they didn't spend Valentine's Day with me. And that person actually really liked me, and they were actually really pushy with trying to date me, but I was worried about when it was time for them to go to college. They were gonna go to a college that was far away, and I was like, I can't do long distance. And we just kind of naturally faded away after that. I felt so bad because they were very persistent and like actually trying to be nice, and I just didn't believe in nice. Boy, did I learn my lesson, because every time I had a fling with someone or dated someone after that, I referred back to that time or that person. I was just like, I didn't compare anybody to anybody. It would be like a thought in the back of my head, like, what if I had dated them? Or like, what if I had just gave them a chance? Because everything that I feared about that person happened in my life otherwise. You know what I'm saying? So that was just like, just food for thought. Don't think about things that you're afraid of happening. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, those were fun facts about me when I was a kid. And I feel like those were a little entertaining and insightful. I feel like those were entertaining and a little insightful. So I feel like that was good to get off my chest. You know what I'm saying? Like, just think about those types of things. Like, put a smile on my face. And then, you know, life goes on like we get older. And everything's chill, you know what I'm saying? But, yeah, that's it. I ain't got nothing else to really add to that besides, I hope that was probably enjoyable, but probably like, you know, actually my views are not really horrendous. Like, my views, I feel like I get enough views to feel like this is not for jack shit. Because, you know, YouTubers, there's like real YouTubers that get views and shit. But I really appreciate the small moments right now. Like, this type of shit is like the vibe, because once it starts getting for real, it's probably like, oh, you're gonna really probably enjoy these little 20, 50 viewers and shit, because it's like life, you know what I mean? Real life. Anyway, that was just some fun facts. Okay, I'm done.